Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is Monday, July the 3rd. Happy 4th of July to everybody in the U.S. Please have a beer and a burger for me. I will not be celebrating. I will be working all day tomorrow. Okay, so guys, a couple of things. Um, Andrew Italia asked if I could incorporate war maps into my updates. And in a different video, I explained I'm not going to do that because it's not what I do. I'm interested in the moral case for supporting Ukraine and the political case specifically for the United States electorate supporting Ukraine in this war of aggression. And I wanted to share with you the people that have most influenced me so that anybody that's really interested can understand the lens through which I understand this conflict. And first and foremost, the person most responsible for shaping my understanding of the war is Dr. Timothy Snyder from Yale University, who recently gave a lecture here in Kyiv via video chat um, at the Metstitsky Arsenal, which is an amazing place. If you're in Kyiv, you must go there. Pictures of the latest exhibition are all on my Instagram for anybody that's interested in art and contemporary art and the art that Ukrainians are making today in the face of this conflict. It's brilliant stuff, brilliant. And in his online lecture, Why Freedom Matters More Than Anything, Dr. Snyder not only lays out the case for support for the Ukrainian side in this conflict, um, but more importantly, the kind of philosophical understanding of what freedom means and why it is more important than everything. And that's what's on the line here in Ukraine, guys, which is something every American should be interested in understanding and want to support. For the historical background on Ukraine, I'm informed by a couple of people, not just Dr. Timothy Snyder, who has this incredible course on at Yale, The Making of Modern Ukraine. I think it's 23 sessions. It's about 23 hours, and it's a college level course on the history of modern Ukraine. And for anybody that's legitimately interested in understanding what's going on over here, because it's complicated. It's not complicated and it is complicated, right? It's not complicated because the reality is the Russians poured 250,000 troops over the border and told the rest of the world if we interfered, they'd nuke us. So, in a lot of ways, it's not complicated, or it shouldn't be. But the history here is a complex one. And Dr. Snyder and his colleagues at Yale do a fabulous job of laying it all out. And I can't encourage anybody that's seriously interested in understanding Ukraine uh, to sit down and go through this. Ivan Krastev is, and you can search him, there's lots of interviews with him on YouTube. He's a Bulgarian historian who understands both the history of modern Europe and the current political crisis in a way that only, I think, an Eastern European from a former Warsaw Pact nation can understand it. And I cannot recommend his intelligent and thoughtful commentary enough for anybody that's interested in what's happening here. To understand the economic side of things is Joe Blogs. This guy has the facts. He is interested in the facts and the facts only. And he lays the facts out in every single one of his videos in a way that is compelling and constructive. Highly recommend. In terms of the political realities here, Silicon Curtain, Jonathan at Silicon Curtain does the most amazing interviews with experts in all kinds of fields. It's not just Ukraine. He talks about other things, but these days he's almost exclusively focused on Ukraine. And so I cannot recommend Silicon Curtain enough. And then, of course, Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, retired, who was the former commander in chief of the U.S. forces in Europe. I think that's the right title. I apologize if I got that wrong, General Hodges. But he was the head of U.S. armed forces in Europe, definitely. Serious fella, understands Ukraine. In his book, Future War, which I also recommend to everybody, he talks about the situation here in Ukraine before the war began and the critical nature of the Black Sea as a defense, as a kind of defensive line for Europe. And so this is an intelligent and thoughtful man who's got the credentials to talk about war. And he does a superior job of it. I can't recommend interviews with General Hodges enough. So these are the minds that are very much shaping my understanding of the war and create the lens through which I understand things here. So, guys, I encourage you to check these resources out for anybody that's seriously interested in knowing what's happening here. If you're interested in knowing what's happening here, but you don't have time to listen to an hour discussion with all these different guys every day, um, what I'm doing is kind of trying to distill their brilliance in a way that makes sense to people. And I'm going to continue to keep doing that for the foreseeable future. Because until we get the weapons to Ukraine that they need for this war, it's going to go on. It's going to keep going. And I think that's where we're at today. Thank you, folks. Happy Independence Day, America. I love you. I miss you. Take care.